Welcome to this week's live video. Weakening across the board. That's how I describe the disappointing economic numbers out from China earlier this week. Most worrying is retail sales. Retail sales are a measure of the Chinese economy's progress in transitioning away from its reliance on the real estate sector to one more supported by growing demand. Retail sales recorded their worst figures since 2022, according to China's National Statistics Bureau. Retail sales were up only 1.3% in November, slowing from 2.9% growth registered in October. Some other disappointments. Industrial production, although up 4.8%, still is showing a slowing trend, down from 4.9% growth in October. Fixed asset investment fell by 2.6% in the first 10 months of 2025. That's worse than the fall recorded in the January to October period, which was a drop of 1.7%. Property investment, the weakest part of FAI, continued to fall. It was down 15.9%, again, in the period January through November, an even worse drop than the 14.7% recorded January through October. Average prices in China's 70 major cities fell by 2.8% in November, a bigger fall than in October as well, which was a 2.6% drop. Meanwhile, in unemployment, there has been no progress. Urban unemployment, official figures are still at 5.1%. And according to a Chinese economist friend of mine who lives in Beijing but spends a considerable amount of time in China's countryside, the employment situation is even worse in rural China. He tells me that in China's hinterlands, local officials are now trying to push migrants back to the cities because the job situation is so dire in the interior of China. A second reason, increasingly cash-strapped local officials can't even pay their pensions for civil servants anymore, struggle to meet the social welfare promises they've made to the people there. They hope to get remittances back old style from migrants that go to the cities. Of course, in recent years, we've seen the reverse policy where local officials in townships and villages have actually tried to lure migrants to come home because in the hope that those migrants would help drive economic growth inside China. Well, that is no longer tenable. There are far fewer decent jobs in the countryside. While the National Bureau of Statistics says that unemployment for rural migrants is only 4.4%, better than the registered urban employment rate of 5.1%, most of those jobs are ill-paid and insecure gig positions. I heard that from my migrant friends in Guizhou when I was back this past summer. Trouble that the migrants now face is there aren't many jobs for them in the cities either. So a pretty bleak picture other than exports. And the problem with exports, of course, is longer term, or even in the medium term, China's reliance on exports to drive growth just simply is not sustainable. As the head of the IMF said on a very recent trip to Beijing, there will start to be increasing even more pushback from countries around the world that are being flooded by Chinese electric vehicles, solar panels, and electronics. Finally, a heads up for the live video. Trade War Live video will be taking a few weeks break. Next Thursday, I will be celebrating Christmas. the following Thursday, I will be celebrating the new year. So that's it for now. And I look forward to seeing you all back in 2026. Bye.